So portrait photography doesn't have to be expensive or intimidating. Some of the best results can come from the right choices, not the fanciest gear. So if you're just starting out and you're looking for practical, affordable options that deliver professional quality, I'm gonna guide you through every step, so let's jump in. So there's a myth that you need to invest thousands of dollars just to get started in portrait photography. The real trick, use what you have. Be resourceful about what you add, because gear flexibility can save you both time and money in the future. You don't need a massive budget to launch into portrait work. Borrowing is where a lot of beginners start. Ask friends or family if they have an old DSLR sitting around. These older cameras still deliver fantastic images for portraits, since most subjects aren't going to be moving around a lot. You can prioritize image quality and raw performance over things like burst speed or high-end autofocus. Pre-owned gear is another major resource. Check platforms like MPB, Adorama Used, B&H Used, Facebook groups, and even local marketplaces. This Canon R6 Mark II, I bought refurbished. The R5 that I'm shooting on right now, I bought used. Stretch your dollars wherever you can. These are all reliable channels for finding solid cameras and lenses secondhand. Because even if your total setup is under $1,000, pairing a sharp lens with good quality lighting will often deliver professional results. Don't underestimate what's possible with less. And ultimately, the best camera is the one that you have. And that's where most great portrait photographers actually start. So let me know down in the comments, what's your first camera? What was the first camera that you ever had? What are you starting with? But now for the purpose of this video, with that out of the way, we are gonna talk about actual products that are available for purchase today that aren't necessarily used or refurbished, although again, many of these you can find on discount sites and in refurbished and used options. And not every camera needs to be the latest flagship to deliver stunning portraits. What actually matters are a handful of focused features. So let's break down which beginner bodies give you the most bang for your buck. Now, I'm a Canon shooter, so we're gonna start with Canon, but we're gonna talk about some other brands. Consider the R8. This is a lightweight, full-frame mirrorless camera that is intentionally beginner-friendly. It offers fast and accurate autofocus using Canon's dual-pixel autofocus 2, making it a reliable option for crisp in-focus portraits, even in variable light conditions. Now, if you want to push things just a little bit further, you can always look at the R6 Mark II, as it adds a little bit better autofocus, in-body image stabilization, faster burst shooting, and very important dual card slots. But it does come at a slightly higher price point. Another camera to look at in the Canon side is the EOS R7, which stands out as the flagship of its APS-C or crop sensor space and comes with rapid burst speeds and exceptionally sharp output. It's perfect for someone who wants detail and responsiveness without jumping potentially into the cost of full frame. On the Sony side of things, the A7C Mark II marries a compact build with full frame performance. It's travel friendly, it delivers excellent color performance, and it won't weigh you down. Not to mention the fact that Sony's autofocus is phenomenal. On the crop sensor side, the Sony A6700 is a strong APS-C contender. It offers modern autofocus with reliable subject tracking. Plus, honestly, it's excellent in the hand if you're looking for something that is smaller and lighter, which also means that you're going to be looking at smaller and lighter, potentially, lenses. Next, Nikon Z5 is an affordable full-frame offering that has renowned solid construction, excellent image quality, and given the price, delivers a phenomenal image. Meanwhile, the Nikon Z50 is a compact APS-C or crop model that's still compatible with Nikon Z lenses and still provides fast, clean images. More than enough for casual or semi-professional portrait sessions. So what all of these cameras share is a focus on practical strengths over showpiece specs. Reliable autofocus, good ergonomics, solid image quality. If you're choosing your first system, think about which of these matters most for you and your workflow, and don't get overwhelmed by the spec sheets alone. Remember, you're investing potentially in a system, especially as you start purchasing lenses. Camera bodies will come and go. Now, this is a video that's going to talk about budgets and it's going to talk about starting out, so let's talk prices for just a moment. Don't let price be the only thing that you think about here, because again, you're investing in a system, but prices do matter. And at the time of making this video, which is right now the summer of 2025, I want to give you the most up-to-date numbers. So the Canon R8 is coming in at $1399. while the R6 Mark II is $1999. Now, both of those cameras I have seen for less, and you can definitely find less in the used and refurbished markets. And the R7, which remember is cropped, it's not a full frame camera but it is the flagship of their crop sensor cameras on the Canon side, and that one's normally $14.99. On the Sony side, the A7C Mark II can range around $2,100 to $2,200, but again, depending on discounts, you can normally find that for quite a bit less. And the APS-C crop Sony camera, the A6700, you can find for about $1,300. On the Nikon side of things, again, these are affordable cameras, but still offer a lot of great features, and these are modern. You can find less expensive cameras to start with. But if you want to start with what's the most up-to-date in these mid-range prices, the Z5 is going to set you back about $1,699, and the Z50 can be found anywhere between $900 and $1,200, depending on if you get it with a kit lens. But next up, and talking about lenses specifically, and don't buy a kit lens if you can avoid it, the right lens can change everything about the look of your portraits, especially when you find the perfect balance between affordability and character. Fast, affordable prime lenses are the best starting point for most portrait creators. On the Canon side of things, I would recommend the Canon RF 50mm f1.8. There is an EF version of this lens, of course, the Thrifty 50. So if you're planning on going the Canon EF route with an older DSLR, like say the 90D or a 6D, or maybe you found a 5D Mark IV on discount, there's a 50mm EF waiting for you, and that EF will adapt perfectly well to RF if you decide to upgrade later. This is the 50mm f1.8. This is a lightweight, highly versatile lens that is ideal for headshots, couples, even family groups if you want to step back just a little bit. And if you want something that's a little bit longer, you can look at the 85mm f2, which does have image stabilization, and it offers macro, so you can get super close-up shots. And at f2, you're going to get phenomenal out-of-focus elements. And in my opinion, 85 is really the best focal length for the human face. Now, most brands have lenses around this same style. Canon isn't the only brand. Sony has their FE50 1.8 as well as an 85 1.8. Now, the original FE 1.8, that's a classic prime, and the 85 delivers beautiful bokeh and compression, making it excellent for close-up portrait details. Nikon's best budget lenses in this space are, again, the 85 f1.8s, which is known for being sharp, and you may also want to take a look at third-party lenses like the Viltrox 85 f1.8Z, which offers strong bokeh and reliable autofocus at a lower price. But here's the thing, when building your kit and looking at lenses specifically, avoid going too old, and definitely don't go with something that's manual. You want to stay autofocus, and you want to stay as modern as possible. This is an investment. You can normally resell your lenses for very close to what you paid for them. And unless you're getting into something very niche, which I would not recommend doing when you're starting out in portrait photography, start with something like a 50mm f1.8. This one, for example, from Canon is $200. But older lenses will give you a harder time with things like autofocus. But to conclude on our lens conversation, you want to pick one fast prime in the 50 to 85mm range and then learn it inside and out. Shoot it with it all day, never stop. That's going to unlock more creative portrait options than you might expect. I've got a video here on the channel talking about why I shoot with prime lenses specifically, and my prime lens of choice is the 85 1.4. If you do want to shoot with zooms and you want to have a little bit more option, you can also look again at third parties. This is a 24 to 70 f2.8 IS from Tamron. This is on the EF mount, but you can obviously get this lens and lenses like it from Tamron, from Sigma, and others for well under $1,000. In fact, I think this one right now would go used for about, I don't know, probably $300 or $400. And it's a great portrait lens. Now, next, we're gonna talk about lighting. And before we get into lighting, I also wanna mention that much of the products that I'm showing you here, I either own or have used. So if I talk about a product, or if I have a link in the description for these products, which is where you can find most of this, there will be links down below as well as in some of the comments about this stuff. If you're curious, I have used almost every single thing that I'm gonna talk about here. But now let's talk about lighting, and really it can truly separate an average portrait from a standout image. But you don't necessarily need to spend big to lift up your game with flash. And before you even get into flash or any other additional lighting, get comfortable using natural light. You need to understand exposure. You need to understand how light can shape a subject. Use shadows, use reflections off of things like buildings and grass and sand. Use shadows, use side light and backlight and front light. Shoot through windows. Get crazy with it before you add another light. The sun is a phenomenal light. It will give you everything you need in a lot of cases. So before you get into something extra and adding another light to the party, because it's always easier when it's just you and that one other one, right? Adding a third always complicates things. So natural light, learn how to use it, learn how to understand the exposure triangle and the settings on your camera and your lens before you get into flash stuff. But if you do want to get into artificial lighting, there are a lot of reliable flash options. One example from Godox is the TT685 and the 862. They both offer through the lens exposure and are normally a little under $150. You can also get the new V480, which I think is like $170. I have not tried that flash yet, but I have tried a lot of products from Godox and I really like their stuff. So the V480 just came out and it's bonkers. Like the quality is amazing and the stats are pretty great for the price. I will include that in the links below. And if you're looking to invest a little bit more, this is what I shoot with normally. I actually shoot with, this is a Godox A200 Pro 2. So this doesn't go on your camera. This actually goes on a stand. So I shoot with this on a stand. You can shoot with it bare, or you can shoot with it through a diffuser. And it has a flash, like a traditional flash bulb, as well as a larger one with a big bulb, and this one has a modeling light. But stuff like this can get complicated and it can get expensive. And you also, for this type of system, you need to have a trigger. So you need to have a trigger on the end of your camera. So again, it gets complicated fast. And so if you're a beginner and you're just trying to get into portrait photography, I would wait until this is really what you need, because honestly, you can get some phenomenal images without anything like this or with a simple on-camera flash. But this is what I use. This is the Godox A200 Pro 2. Now, if you want to keep things on an ultra budget and you're looking at inexpensive gear, you can even look at stuff like this. This is a 430 EX2 from Canon. They don't even sell this one anymore. I still use this lens. It's got batteries in it that still work. That's cool. Is it the most powerful flash in the world? No. But if I put this on the top of my camera, honestly, it works great. And that's traditionally where, especially when you're getting started, if you want that flash look, you're going to, it's where you're going to put it, is on the top of your camera. You're going to put it on your hot shoe. But you can get those things used, but boom, 430EX. Most modern, even the less expensive flashes are going to allow you to direct it and put it in, you know, if you want to bounce off a wall to get your subject lit up. Like a lot of people get scared of flash and they think, oh, it's going to be too bright. It's going to be too harsh. No. You shoot in other directions. You shoot up, you shoot over, right? You just kind of turn it like this, and then you're shooting off of a wall to light your subject, or you can use a diffuser, which we'll talk about in a second. And flashes can be used as fill light during daylight to balance out harsh shadows, or you can use them as a key light in a more controlled environment. The flexibility means that you don't necessarily have to rush into expensive studio gear, just put this bad boy on your camera. And lighting is a tool, not a barrier. Start basic. Start with the sun, then get something small. Get to know your options. You do not need to get the most expensive gear, and you do not need to get the most gear. There are photographers who shoot their entire career without any additional lighting. They've used the same camera body and the same lens forever, and they produce better photos than anybody because honestly, they know what they're doing and they're connecting with their clients. So next, we're going to talk about modifiers, and small, affordable light modifiers can have a huge impact. They're kind of like the secret sauce behind many professional looking portrait setups. Now, the first one that I want to mention is what's called a Fong diffuser. There are a lot of diffusers like this. This one is from Gary Fong. You can probably get this at garyfong.com. I'll also put a link down in the description. I bought this 16 years ago. There's probably a bunch of, this is like the least modern version of this diffuser, but here's the idea, is that it basically straps onto your flash. So while it's sitting on the end of your flash, it automatically diffuses the light that's inside. And so whether you're shooting out and around and maybe you don't have something to bounce it off of, or if you're shooting like directly at your client and you want it to just be more diffuse, you can actually choose to shoot this way. You can do this. You can actually take this off and it changes it a little bit. You can shoot up. Like, this changes a lot of what you can do with your flash right away. These things are awesome. And another thing I want to mention is that a lot of flashes will actually have a diffuser panel built in. So you can actually combine these or just use this one. And another thing that you can do is you can put a bounce card. You'll actually see people, I feel dumb because I don't actually have a bounce card here, but you put a bounce card here and what it does is it bounces the light right off. So if you don't have something to bounce it off of, it'll bounce it here. And then that gives you that more diffuse look because it's gonna take the light and bounce it off of something else. But Phong diffuser. Another option that you can do is if you have a light stand and on the end of that light stand you have your flash, you can normally get a shoot-through umbrella, which is a lot less expensive in some cases than a traditional softbox. And I've used a lot of shoot-through umbrellas. You can also use reflective umbrellas. There's a lot of other options. I'll put a photo up on the screen of what those look like. I don't have any in the studio today. They're all in my storage right now because I haven't used them in a while, but I have them and I've used them and they're great. And I will include in the links down below, as well as in my gear list link, a couple of those, as well as the mount adapter that you need for that. This flash actually comes with one, and you can, I don't know if you can see that. There's a hole in the middle of that you would run your umbrella through. Your flash sits up here, right? The umbrella goes through there and then it diffuses your flash. Okay, another option is a reflector, a 5-in-1 reflector. These, you don't have to have this. This is an inexpensive, low budget item that you can use in your budget to significantly increase kind of the cool factor and the versatility of the shots that you're taking. So I mentioned that, use a building, use the sand underneath your client's feet, use anything you can to reflect light. Well, sometimes you just don't have that. And so you have to bring your own reflection. And that's where these 5-in-1 reflector, honestly, you just use a piece of foam core if you really wanted to. But these are super cool. So this is a 5-in-1 right here. And what makes it 5-in-1 is that inside here there are, so you've got the silver reflector, you've got black, right? So this is what's called neg or negative bounce, which means that it'll actually reduce bounce. So if you're noticing that you've got too much light coming in on one side, you just block it with neg. The other options are white and gold. I don't know about the gold. I don't really use it. It's cool looking if you really want to get something specific. Get creative with it, obviously. The white is what I use most of the time. So you have gold, white, silver, neg, and the one that you don't see, and the reason why this thing's all floppy, is that the diffuser that goes inside, there's actually a diffusion panel that goes inside it that has a rigid edge. I'm actually using it right now in my video. Like it's hanging from my ceiling, but it's rigid and it keeps this whole thing out. That's one option. One thing to note, you might need some help with that, unless you want to lean it up against something, because otherwise it can be a little tricky. You might need a But again, I mentioned the potential for using something like a foam core board. You could also honestly just use a reflector from like the sunshade from your car. Those actually work really, really well. So modifiers can dramatically shape the quality of light, even on a low budget. So try a few out, see what works for your style, and you'll pretty quickly appreciate how much control they bring to your system and your process. Next, let's talk about the little things, which are often overlooked and can be kind of the difference between a smooth shoot and frustration. First, let's start with reliable SD cards. There are a lot of brands and models and numbers and things to look at when you're talking about SD cards. And so I want to break it down really quickly and just say that honestly, in most cases, if you get a SanDisk card, you will not be disappointed, although they can be, in my experience, a little physically brittle. They have a tendency to fall apart over time. But you're not gonna buy these and they're gonna last forever, right? You're gonna use these things and they are going to slowly but surely fall apart on you. The other brand that I like to shoot with is Sabrent or Sabrent. I'm not really sure how they pronounce it, but I've been using these 64 gigabyte Sabrent cards for quite some time. I have like 4 or 5 of them. I like the smaller size because I think you get a better price per gigabyte, and I don't like big cards. They make me nervous, and I'm lazy and I have a tendency to let my cards fill up, so I'm better off with small cards. Forces me to have to clean them out. Now notice that I have not put anything here that is a micro SD or a CF Express. That's because none of the cameras on the list that I gave you earlier take CF Express. If you're looking at CF Express cards, then you're in a higher class of camera. Also no mini or micro SD cards because that's dumb. Don't do that. If you're putting mini or micro SD cards into one of those like adapter ones and then sliding that into your camera, you are just asking for trouble. Go with traditional full-size SD card. Also, be weary of the fact that, especially on the SanDisk side of things, there are counterfeits, especially on Amazon. So you may want to check reviews and obviously look at other places to buy, like B&H, Adorama, or your local camera shop. Now Lexar is another brand that you can pick. This is a 128 gigabyte Lexar card here, but I have had bad experience in my Canon cameras with these Lexar cards, so I shy away from Lexar. But the one thing that really makes the difference between these SanDisk cards and these Sabrent cards is, and if you see the difference there, one's got 1 row of pins and one has 2 rows of pins. That's the difference between UHS-2 and UHS-1, or it's the other way around, UHS-2 and UHS-1. Now, if you're just doing still shooting, there's not a considerable difference, really. But if you're going to be doing any kind of burst, then UHS-2 is what you want to go with because it's going to be faster in the camera. It's also going to be much faster to be able to copy these off of the camera or off of the card onto your computer when you go to do your editing. But if you're doing mostly stills, you'll be fine. If you want to go with UHS-1, get a handful of them. Don't get 512 gigabyte cards. 128 is fine, 64 is fine. Get a couple of them. Now, once you're done using your cards, you need to, 1, you need to store them, and number 2, you need to copy them into your computer. So I've got a couple of different things here. One is this is a basic card holder. This one is from K&F Concepts. I like their gear. You're gonna hear me talk about a few other things from them as well. But these card readers, the thing I like about them is that they're rubberized on the inside, but it's like a hard rubber, as opposed to something like this one, which is a little bit cheaper and it's fine, but it's foam, and I just don't love that as much. But I've found that this works really, really well. And the other thing that I like about it is that it is waterproof. But if you want to serve 2 purposes, you can get this. This is a card reader. This one's from Alano. They sent this one to me to review. This is a USB 4 card reader. So not only is it a card reader, but it's also a card holder. So you can take your cards and you can just pop them in like that. And so if you're looking to do both, you've got those there. So it'll store 1, 2, 3, 4 SD cards, which is about as many as you should have. And it does have micro SD on here. Again, not for your mirrorless or your DSLR camera, maybe for your drone, maybe for your GoPro. And then it just slides in here. I have not tested if this is waterproof. Oh, and it just has the cable. So again, that makes things a little easier, a little more compact. If you don't want all of that, but you still need to be able to copy your stuff over, because most modern laptops have a built-in reader, but if you're on like an iPad, or if you're on a computer that just doesn't have a reader in it, this is a very simple and easy USB-C reader from Cable Matters. It's inexpensive. I will link it down below. Cable Matters is a good brand. They make good stuff, but I'll link that down below. This one is USB 3.1, so you're gonna get, I think, 5 gigabytes per second, but I also believe that it is UHS-1 looking in the inside with the pins. You're not gonna get UHS-2 speeds, so if you're getting UHS-2 cards, you need to get a UHS-2 reader. The reader that comes built into the MacBook, really all modern MacBooks have UHS-2 capability, and the reader that's in the Lano is also UHS-2, capable of reading those cards at full speed. Because if you're downloading like 10,000 photos for, you did 8 portrait session clients in one day, you're gonna need speed. Now, every shoot is an opportunity for marketing, for learning, and for trust building, and that's why you need to be capturing behind the scenes content. Recording how you work isn't just for social media likes, like it's not necessarily just to build a social media presence. It's so that when people come to find you, it can build client trust. It showcases your process, and it can offer valuable material for your portfolio or your website. The easiest way to do it is to use a camera that you already have, which is your phone. So what you're gonna do, you're gonna take out your phone, here's my phone, and you're gonna get one of these mounts. They're inexpensive. Again, I will link one in the description. Get this mount, you're gonna put it on your hot shoe, or if you wanna get crazy and get a cage, you do that too. This one is jammed. Now, we're not really talking about video. Now, we're not really discussing video much in this particular video. We're not discussing video in this video because that's not really the purpose here. This is really the only place where we're going to talk about anything video related, which is capturing just quick clips for sharing on social media to showcase what a session with you looks like. And so what I really like are these little flexible deals. Again, there's a million different ways that you can do this, but I really like these little flexible guys. You just throw them on your camera, which in this case is your phone, and you can attach them a couple of different ways. I like these little adapter clips that let you put this guy on your hot shoe, just like so, and then you can screw this on. And the reason that I like it is because it gives you flexibility in terms of how you direction it, because in some cases you want to take pictures from or video from the standpoint of your camera, and in some cases you actually want to take it from the standpoint of you, right? So there you have an option for behind the scenes content. Let's put on our 50mm 1.8. Boom, you are ready to go. So in some cases you might want to be like this at the bottom of your camera, and then you just kind of get some interesting viewpoints if you really, really wanted to. And you just get some really kind of interesting viewpoints if you want to. But think of behind the scenes content as free marketing and portfolio building kind of rolled into one. You start simple, start small, and you'll be kind of amazed at how much value you can generate basically for free, because everybody's got a phone in their hand. Next, we got to talk about power. So running out of power can, well, end your session. So reliable charging and batteries are a must, even for beginners. If you're going to be shooting a couple of clients in a day, you're going to need more than one battery, and that means you're going to need some options for charging. So for multi-battery shooters, I like, and this is a brand I've mentioned before, and I do have a review of this on the channel. This is the Lano Dual Travel Charger. They do make a triple charger. They also have a charger that has a battery built into it. I thought I'd show you kind of the simplest one. This is USB-C, and it will charge 2 batteries. It also, really conveniently, shows you what the power level is of your batteries. And because it's USB-C, you could easily charge this from your wall. You could charge it in the car. There's a couple of different options here. Now, Lano sells their batteries, and to be honest, you normally want to stick with branded batteries. In this case, I've got Canon branded batteries, but there are more inexpensive options. Again, check reviews for these. These batteries I really like. I can't remember who makes them specifically, but the thing that I liked about them is that they've got the little light on it to show you if they're powered, and it has a USB-C port so that you can charge them directly if you absolutely need to. Fully compatible. But starting off, you probably want to stick with your traditional brand batteries. Your camera will likely come with a charger, but again, if you want to be able to charge more than one battery at a time, it'd be helpful to have something like that. So portable, reliable charging can give you confidence, gives you fewer interruptions, and no matter if you're on location or if you're just, out for a day at the park. Another item that I want to mention while we're on the subject of batteries, this is a battery grip. Now, this battery grip is for the R6 and the R5, but it allows you to put in 2 batteries. Now, Canon makes this grip, and you can also get these same grips from companies like Sony and like Nikon, but they're not cheap, honestly. I think the Canon one is like $375. I got the cheap one. I got the one from Newer, and this was, I think, 85 bucks. This is their version of the BGR10 for the R6 Mark II and the R5. Goes on really easily on my R6 Mark II, gives me additional power during the day so that I don't have to do as much battery switching. You still might have to change batteries, but it makes it a little bit easier. And putting batteries in here is really simple. Just pop these in like this. This goes in right here. And now I've got double the power in here, and I've also got a grip so I can shoot portrait mode without having to do this, which just hurts my shoulder doing because I can feel the busy season coming. So that makes things much easier. And there's a little spot inside to hold your battery door. Now, one other thing that I really like to use on my shoots are filters. Now, you don't have to use a filter, and anybody who's trying to sell you a UV filter for anything other than just it's an extra bit of glass on the front of your lens, they don't do anything else. But I really like using filters in my photography, and I have found that it has been super helpful. And there's 2 specific filters that I want to mention to you. One, and I have them in this really cool KF case. This is the KF Magnetic Kit. This comes with a couple filters, the bag, and the adapter ring for your lenses. So that's what I'm going to show you first. But the first one is the diffusion filter, right? So you don't always want diffusion, but I've found that my clients, and really me, I like the look of diffusion. It just makes things a little bit softer. Can you do it in post? Yes. I found that it doesn't look the same if you're trying to do it in post. It has kind of a digital Orton effect. I like doing it in camera, and I like using the diffusion filter. And when you use a magnetic filter, it just pops right on, makes it really, really easy. And then you can pop it on, pop it off, put it on another lens if you need to without having to screw it on and off. And I have the magnetic KNF filter ring on here right now, which is small and lightweight, easy peasy. I don't use it all the time, but when I do use it, it's great. But the other filter that I do use a lot is my circular polarizer. Now, a circular polarizer can, from the standpoint of portrait photography, can really help in making that background pop, but also it can reduce glare on your subject's face. So if you're outside, especially right now during the summer, maybe it's hot, maybe they're just a little bit sweaty, or maybe they're like me and, you know, there's a little bit more chrome on the dome. This will cut down on some of that reflected light by using the CPL. I really like using CPLs. You don't have to use magnetic filters, obviously. I have KNF's filters that screw right on, but the issue that you sometimes will run into is, in this case, this lens is an 82mm filter thread, which is fine because my magnetic filter ring is 82mm, so that works perfectly fine. But sometimes you don't have 82mm. Sometimes you might have something like on the 50mm 1.8, which if you read right on the front is a 43mm thread, which means that this is like half the size of this. I think that's how that works. Somebody do the 1/πr for me, or it's 2/πr. I know what I'm talking about. Right, so let's say that you have this 82mm, maybe you've also got like a 77mm lens right here, and then you've got your 50mm that is 43. I'm like, man, I don't want to buy 3 different sizes of filter because that's going to get expensive, and the idea here is to keep your budget down to get started. Well, what you can do is buy filters that are the largest size that you're gonna need. So in this case, 82. So we're gonna use our magnetic ring as our example here. And what I'm gonna do is I've got this step-up series, right? I've got these step-up rings that allow me to effectively use, I can take the biggest filter that I have and I can still put it on the smallest lens that I have. And I'm gonna use this step-up ring. It's probably a whole video on its own, but here we go. So let's say, for example, I'm using this lens and I want to take the diffusion filter off of it and just put it onto this lens, even though this one's 77 and this one's 82. There you go. I love magnetic filters and I love using step-up rings. Okay, last but not least, bags and straps. This is KNF. I swear I'm not sponsored by them. They have good gear at a good price. This is a KNF, this bag is dirty because I just used it. This is their 10-liter bag. It will support a camera and a lens, and I think it's like $30 or $40. It's quality construction, it's got stuff on the sides, but that is my recommendation for a go-to hip or sling bag. You could go with a more traditional big bag. Do not buy the like Canon branded bag with because you have to put that down to open it, and it screams steal me. Dirty. Okay, so that's the first thing. Straps. You don't have to invest in an additional strap. You don't have to spend a ton of money on like the Peak Design straps, or, I mean, if you want to get a cool strap that's like all about you, do that. You should, because it's part of the fun. But most cameras are gonna come with a strap in the box. Use that, it's fine. This is a rapid strap. I love rapid straps. I love rapid straps because they allow you to put your camera on you without putting it around your neck for a couple of reasons. One, I find that creates a lot of unnecessary wear on the back of your neck, which if you're doing a lot of shooting, that can really start to hurt. Also, if you're out in the sun and you're putting sunscreen on the back of your neck, it might rub off the sunscreen and then boom, you end up with a sunburn. But this allows you to strap your camera to your shoulder, and then you have your camera now, boom. And you can kind of set how high up you want it to be able to go, right? And then you can also set how low you want it to go. So if you don't want it to hang super far off your body, you can actually bring this up like this, and this one up like this, and then it'll only go down that far. So it's not gonna swing behind you, which is a thing that happens to me a lot. So with that clip, you can do that, and then boom, there's your portrait camera right there. So that's bags and straps. Another strap, just again, if you're just looking for other options here, same concept, but instead of it being a strap around, this is just a strap that you put on your hand. Like, that's the wrong hand. I'm left-handed, that's why I wear my watch on my right hand, in case you're curious. But black rapid strap, but it's just for your wrist. Pretty cool. Okay, all gear talk aside, success in portrait photography comes down to clarity in the choices and the confidence in your process. One capable camera body and a fast prime lens. Add lighting and a couple of accessories as you get comfortable and as your needs grow. Gear isn't a race. Invest in what improves your portraits, not just what's trending. And never forget to document your shoots, especially on your phone, because those informal moments can often show potential clients how you really work. And that's what it's about, is connecting with your clients. Now, we didn't really talk about client interaction here in this video. We did talk mostly about gear, but remember that before you get the gear, get your interaction with your clients down. Be comfortable in that space. Be comfortable talking with people, interacting with them, getting them to laugh and smile and look inquisitively. Understand your own creative vision and how to manipulate the exposure triangle. Portrait gear is about supporting your creative vision, not overshadowing it, not becoming it. Build your kit at your own pace, focus on connection and technique, and you'll be surprised how far you can go. Now that's it for me. If you want to support what I'm doing here, consider becoming a channel member. That's $1. And if you're looking to book a photo or video session with me, all the details are down below, including my free mini sessions, along with all of the gear that we've talked about today and everything that I use to make my videos. Now, those links do go to help the channel, but as always, the easiest way to support me here is just to hit the like and subscribe button. That goes a long way to telling YouTube that I'm doing the right things. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next one.